So today I've got a repair on our little traveling forge to make. This weekend coming up on the 24th here, we've got a Salem Museum Days here, Salem, Virginia. And being the head blacksmith at Smithfield Plantation here in Blacksburg, I get to maintain all the equipment and whatnot for some of the other smiths to get to go play sometimes. So that's where I'm at today. I'm actually making a repair on a rivet forge. The grill that covers the hole where the fire pot has the air come up through, that grill got cracked last season. And so this season I'm getting to make a new one of those covers for it. And yeah, should be kind of interesting. Not a whole lot of forge work. Here at the start, it's mostly cold work. I've got to cut a piece of plate, drill some holes through it, and then I get to actually go to the forge and hot work a little bit of a dome to it. Let's see, hold you further away so my hand gestures and whatnot show up a little better. But yeah, so that's where we're at today, and I'll take you along for the ride. Maybe you see some fun equipment and whatnot get used. Probably not, but just a hammer and anvil. Anyway, come on with me. Here's that plate that we've got to cut there along the line, then drill those two holes for bolts. Here in the center area, I'll actually be drilling several little air holes to let the air come up through that as we force air through with a hand-cranked blower. But this area right here is going to get a section of it domed up just a little bit, kind of like a floor flange or a grate on the flooring. It's a very similar process and principle. That's the word I'm looking for. Very similar principle to those little floor drains in municipal buildings and whatnot. Maybe not quite as tall of a dome, but yep, here we go. Fun stuff. Yeah, buddy. There we go. All right. Well, we're coming out here to my storage area where I've got this forge sitting. See, there's a broken grate before, and this is what I'm trying to do to replace it. So I got to mark where these holes are. I may have to go ahead and mark it and then show you that in a picture maybe, but just a little bit of what we're doing and going on here. See, that's where the air inlet comes in, and that goes into a little, like a T down there, ash dump and T, and then that's all I'm doing is replacing that little grate there. There's two bolts, one here and here, that hold it down. This is actually a bolt that holds in the T. But you can kind of see down through there, and let's close the gap up here. the ash dump valve. But yeah, pretty simple stuff. But I get some fun sometimes in replacing parts and pieces and rigging ways out to do that. Anyway, we'll see in a few. So, as I described earlier, I've got a circle there around, well, it's actually an oval around where the T comes up through the bottom of that forge. That area needs to be domed, and all those little dots in the center of it need to be holes that I've got to drill for the air to be able to come through and force air up through the coal and let you have a nice hot fire. Anyways, we'll see you in a bit. So I'm going to try to use this Harbor Freight step bit to do this. I've got regular drill bits, but we're going to try and use up the cheapo crapo stuff first. That way I can actually increase the size of these holes as needed if I need to. But anyway, sounds like a plan. We're going to have fun here. Yeah, I can see through that, so that little bit did pretty good. It's part of a 3-pack from Harbor Freight of, oh, shoot, let's see if I got it sitting right here. It's the titanium nitride stepless drill bits. So, I think it might have cost me $6, but they work pretty good for what they are. Didn't burn the bit up too bad. And that's freaking, some of that AR steel got handed off to me, so it's abrasion resistant. It cut pretty good. Now I did have to force it a little bit, apply a good amount of pressure, lean into it as I was drilling it. So as you get this thing going, it smokes a little bit. Green coal. I've got some coke from the last fire down there, so it lit pretty quickly. So first thing you do is you just wad up some newspaper. I happen to have old receipt tapes. They work. Make a big old ball, throw a little bit of cardboard over top of that. If it's a really wet day or nasty outside, I'll sometimes throw some little sticks or twigs on top of it and get that started, and then start pulling on the coke from the last fire, and then I'll add in some green coal, dampen it a little bit so that it sets up a little coking action. For my water bottle, you know, there you go. My water bottle, honestly, the best thing is an old dish bottle. I can direct the spray. I can close that tip just a little bit there, not all the way down, but just a touch up, and kind of lessen the amount of water coming out. And what that does, guys, is that actually allows the impurities kind of in the green coal, to kind of form bonds and steam out, and the coal itself to actually become what's called coke. Yeah, kind of like the stuff you drink, but I wouldn't suggest drinking this. It's nasty. But it burns off all the sulfur impurities. That's why that smoke's got a little yellow tinge to it. And it is highly flammable, so best not to let that smoke build up in an enclosed area, because when it does flare up, it can be a little explosive. But yeah, there's the fire and how to get it started, and how I started anyhow. Probably not the right way, but
as everybody says, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So, not that I skin cats, but, you know. Anyway, there you go on how to start a fire. Once this gets good and coked up, I'll come back and we'll start heating up that piece of steel in here. And then I'll get to show you a cool little tool called a swage block that allows me to form some different dips and shapes. And I'll use a little unexpected tool. It's not a hammer, but I'll use it kind of like a hammer. So as I get this going and heating up in the fire, I'll talk to you a little bit about what a swage block is and what it does. Show you a little bit with that. So over here on top of the anvil we have a swage block or a pattern block. So as you can see, you can set it up on the edge, and it's got various different sized, cutouts to it. These let you dome stuff, make pipe, dishes, calla lily forms. They help curl. Now over here I have some triangular sides that will let me work stuff on the bias, maybe turn something into a triangle, or square something up if I have a top fuller or a top swage that's got a similar shape to it. Let's see. Over here we have a nice curve. Lots and lots of curves on this one. Big dip curves and whatnot. These are helpful in forming some of the leaf shapes. As you can see, there's a shovel pattern here. These are large ladle spoon shapes. I'm actually going to try this shape and see if I can use that to dome that little piece of plate. Give me a second. I'll flip this over and we'll show you the other side. So on this side we actually have a ladle or a bowl, smaller ladles, and some tablespoons and teaspoons. So there's different shapes, different sizes of stuff. You still got the same sides, but there's that. That's what a swage block is. That unconventional hammer right there, it's actually a shot put, or the hammer throw, I guess it is. It's the hammer minus the chain coming out of the top there. But what I'm going to use it for is I'm actually going to put my hot piece of metal over that and just kind of dome it down into there. Maybe it'll give a little less aggressive doming and shaping than my hammerhead will. We'll try it. We'll see. Push comes to shove, I'll fall back and punt with one of my bigger hammers that it's more of a rounding shape on the hammerhead on one side and flat on the other. It's called a rounding hammer. But we'll try it with this big ball first. I kind of like the idea of using that. So I hope. I'm not sure if this large spoon shape serving spoon is going to work, but I know if I flip it over and use that big bowl shape, or even the smaller bowl shape, I know it'll work. But this oval is the shape of that T, if you recall, so I'm kind of hoping to use that shape. I really think I might wind up just ending up with a hammer, but to accomplish that. But here we go. Our metal's hot. You get to see something. And hopefully I don't deafen you here with the anvil sound. So the green coal stuck to that. See, it's still hot. We'll start right up here. I don't know if you can tell, getting the camera frame here, but it did dome it. It's domed a little bit. Maybe not as much as I really want to. So we're gonna scrap that ball, and we're actually gonna go with my little baby hammer here. That's my go-to hammer. It's a Swiss pattern, I guess you'd call it. But it's only 800 gram hammer. It's nice, lightweight, about a pound and a half maybe. Super light. I like a nice long handle. It lets me actually do a whipping action as I hammer.
and moving too fast for the camera to really pick up on that. But you'll get to see me use it here in a sec after we get another heat on this thing. We're almost back up to heat. The beauty of this thing versus an actual electric blower, this beauty, it's a Champion 400 forged blower. I actually have more control over how much air I'm forcing through the fire with this thing than I ever had with my little squirrel cage fan and you know, blower apparatus setup that I had through that with a damper valve. Of course, the downside is when I'm not working it, it's not putting air through there, so the fire can go out if I take too long doing something else. And I'm using the Peen. Yes, it is, and I am using the Peen on this hammer because it lets me work it in and around on that shape a little bit more. Swap over to the actual hammer head for the big work, but around the edge I really want to kind of tuck it in on that corner somewhat. That's how quickly you can lose a heat if you're running your mouth. So when you're out doing demos, you really got to be mindful of how much talking versus working you're doing while your steel is not in the fire. Yeah. It's not as high a heat as it may look like on that video, but it's all relative, right? I would say that the heat that I'm working this stuff at would be a low orange into the red. I mean, it's just a blooming grill, so it's not like if I do work in some cracks or anything, it's anything super vital. It's just peachy stuff here, so I got to work a little bit more in this area here, bring it back down, and then we'll call that a good little doming, and straighten up around the edges and lose the get rid of the swage block there. Don't want to get it too hot, but also want to be able to get in here and actually work it. So I don't know if you can really tell with the lighting in here, but it is kind of domed out, and that area right there where I just worked, it comes up and then straight-ish. That's what we're trying to do all the way around, and then I'll come in and I'll drill that little hole right in that area wherever the bolt lines up on the forge. This thing's up to a working temperature here now, and not too hot, not burning and melting, so let's get back to it. think this is going to work. It looks like it's going to do what it's supposed to do anyways. Now, I heard from a very wise man that all these shapes on the anvil, the step, even the feet on the anvil, they work as swage blocks. So some of you guys starting out, my advice to you would be, do not be leery or fearful of using every surface on your anvil, particularly if you've got something that's referred to as an ASO, or an anvil-shaped object, rather than a true anvil. It just, don't limit yourself because you think, oh, I don't have that swage block. Oh, I don't have the right hammer. Oh, no, I don't have this or that. Forget all that. Work with what you have. While this thing is heating up, let's see if I can get this up close for you. With the light, let's see, back it up there just a little bit. You can kind of see the different lines in there. This is the billet that I've been talking about, guys. That thing is massive, and it's going to be some chef knives, a actual chef knife, a paring knife for two, a boning knife, and I think once I get it all knocked out and shaped right, that I'm going to have extra stock just in this little piece. This was really only about half of the high carbon that I ordered, and not even a full piece of the 15 and 20. But I'm excited. I can see where I've got another little welding pass here at the end that I need to take. But it does look as if through the center parts of this, everything's welded up. So it won't be too long before I start working on manipulating the pattern with this. It won't be too long before we're actually working this up on a video. Yeah. Let's just I think if I heat this up, we can crack this just a little bit and get it to be squared up. Maybe. So if I heat out the domed, bowled out part a little bit more, I think we'll get there. So with a coal fire, heat is a pretty quick thing to come by usually, unless you're working really big stock. Like that billet takes a few minutes to actually heat up. Let's go remark those holes, see how the fit is, come back and drill the holes and bolt it on and call it good. May add a few more air holes now that I'm seeing how big that dome is. So I see you. Yes, I do believe that's going to work beautifully. So now just got to mark the holes a little bit. All right, let's go drill the holes. So things went a little bit sideways there. That hole is not usable, but one of the other air holes lined up fairly well. I just needed to size it a little bit bigger, but I think that, my friends, is a thing of beauty, and that will work.
That's phenomenal. So, yeah, here we go. So, it does. Let's see. Let's put something here that's got some sort of visible air receptors there. It does work. It works real well. So, hope everybody has fun with that. Bye.